All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and guess what? The new pack coming to Pokemon Pocket, B3B, aka called Everyday Wonders, has been announced. It is coming out on June 30th, and it is the next mini set releasing before this sort of Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza set that they announced a little while back is releasing, right? So this is the new one at the end of June. It's called Everyday Wonders, and the trailer came out today, and basically they showed a bunch of cool new cards, so we're going to break them all down as we do here on the channel. Now, Pokemon Zone, the website I typically use, hasn't updated yet, so we are on pokebeach.com. Shout out to Pokebeach. And I'm going to be just kind of pulling up the images, and we're going to be talking about these cards. I want to talk about their meta viability. I want to give my predictions as to how good these cards will be, give sort of some speculation maybe, talk about how we're going to play these new cards, just kind of in general give my opinions, right? Because that's what we do on this channel, is we kind of talk about the, the metagame and how good the cards are going to be and how we're going to play them. So that's what this video is really all about. I'm excited. I am. Everyday Wonders. So it's interesting. To me, this feels like definitely one of those side quest type sets, right? And that's kind of what mini sets have been more recently. They haven't necessarily been kind of expansions to the main sets that come out before them. They are kind of, at least recently, they feel like they've been kind of standalone, on their own, which is fine. And this is a really cute set. We have things like Snorlax, Pikachu, Sylveon, Greedent, right? So a lot of fan favorites in this set. And I'm honestly really excited. I think some of these cards look very, very interesting, even at first glance, if this seems to be more of like a kind of a cutesy type set. I still think a lot of the cards that are going to release, as always, are going to be pretty viable. So any new cards we get is always an update to the metagame. We're going to break it all down here. Let's do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to register for PMPT number 37, I think it is. Is it 37 or 36? I should have this pulled up, but there's a tournament this weekend, and link to register is down in the description below. We actually have $200 in the prize pool this weekend due to some community donations, which is really cool, and I'm really happy about that. But anyway, long intro. This might be a long video. Who knows? Let's get right into it. So here is the pack art. This is going to be the Everyday Wonders pack art. Again, I do see my boy Snorlax in here, Greedent, Piplup, Pikachu, and Sylveon. So just a bunch of sort of cute Pokemon that everyone likes. And honestly, I'm here for it. I like it. Anyway, the first Pokemon, let's take a look, that they highlighted is going to be Hisuian Lilligant. So there are some Hisuian Pokemon in this set. So there hasn't been a mini set that's specifically based around the Hisui region. From Legends Arceus. We don't have a lot of those Pokemon. We have some of them, I think, but some of the Hisuian Pokemon have found their way into the set, and Lilligant is the first one here. So it evolves from Petalil, which is interesting because we do have the Lilligant that buffs grass Pokemon's HP. So we do have, I think, a 50 HP Petalil. And keep in mind, we do have Fragrant Forest, right? So grass in general has pretty decent buffs. This thing is a stage 1 Pokemon, single energy attack cost, 100 HP, so you can Leaf Cape this thing as well. But anyway, let's talk about the attack. Dress Up is the attack name here. For 1 energy, it does 40 damage, and if you have a Pokemon tool attached to this Pokemon, it does 20 more. So it's honestly a very respectable Pokemon. It is a stage 1 card, so it's not like a basic Pokemon like a Pheromosa that you can throw into basically any deck, but it does have enough HP. You have access to Erica, you have Leaf Cape, like I said. We can get Petalils for free. We have Quick Growth Extract, which is a really, really big deal for some of these grass-type Pokemon, so this card to me seems totally fine. 60 damage with a tool card again, so for 1 energy, you could have 130 HP and deal 60 damage. Like, that's not really bad at all. In fact, I do like it, Cards like this, it's interesting, right? We have to think, well, are we really going to see this in a deck? Like, does it make sense to include, 2 Petalil and 2 Hisuian Lilligant in your deck for that particular attack effect? If you do, you're probably going to want to be playing, 3, maybe 4 tool cards. And honestly, it could be fine. Now, this is certainly not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. And even if you don't have a tool card, it's still 40 damage. So, it's just sort of one of those generic grass-type lead-off Pokemon. I actually think it's quite decent, and it has a chance to be paired with other stage 1 grass-type decks if you're going to be playing Quick Growth Extract. So, yeah, I like it. I like this card. Next up, we're going to talk about Yamper and all of these different puppy Pokemon, because there's this new single prize archetype that's being, put into Pokemon Pocket, and it's called like Puppy Pile, right? So we've seen this before, right? With, what is it called? Sweets Relay is like another example of this. So they like to add these sort of pre-built, single prize archetypes that aren't typically like top tier meta strategies, but they are mostly comprised of like really easily obtainable single prize Pokemon. And if you're new to the game, or if you just wanted to play in like a restricted format or whatever, they are kind of fun decks to build around. So we're getting a new one like that. This is effectively like the new Sweets Relay, and it's comprised of all of these, little puppy Pokemon, which is cool. So Yamper's one of them. Puppy Pile here. All of these Pokemon have double colorless energy in their attack cost, and they do basically this, right? So for 2 colorless energies, reveal all of the Pokemon in play and in your hand that have the Puppy Pile attack, and this attack does 20 damage for each Pokemon you revealed this way. Now again, this could be really strong if you think about it. 2 colorless energies, yes, it's not as good as 1 colorless energy, but you know, you could use baby Pokemon to accelerate energies to these in really any way that you could possibly imagine. So I do think it's definitely possible to get these Pokemon set up. They all have low HP amounts for sure. But, you know, let's just say they release like 3 or 4 Pokemon, maybe even 5 that all have Puppy Pile. Then all of a sudden, like, these Pokemon have the potential to one-hit KO a lot of things in the game. So it's interesting. It's hard to know exactly how good these are going to be. There is a new supporter card that we'll take a look at in a sec that kind of relates directly to the Puppy Pile archetype. But here's Yamper, and the next up is going to be Fido, which is a basic with 40 HP. And if we go back, Yamper had 60, so it's not searchable with Lycia. But Fido is, and it's got the same exact attack, but free retreat on Fido. Yamper does not have free retreat. So Fido's actually interesting. It's almost like kind of like a pseudo baby Pokemon in the sense where it has very little HP and it has free retreat. Still, you need the 2 energies to attack, but it has the same attack. And then Rockruff is another one, and this one's fighting type. And what's cool is because we have psychic, fighting, and lightning type Pokemon, you know, weakness is something that can be factored in here, right? So, you know, depending on which, you know, I guess type your opponent might be weak to, you can utilize that puppy Pokemon to deal, you know, some extra damage. But these 3 Pokemon here all have Puppy Pile. So from what we see right now, that's 6. So if you have 6 Pokemon, either they're in play or in your hand, then that's 120 damage, right? For 2 colorless energies on a basic Pokemon, which is pretty strong. And there's nothing saying that we can't pair these Pokemon with other Pokemon, right? So it's interesting. It's definitely kind of cute. Rockruff, Fido, and Yamper. I like Sweet's Relay, even though it was never super relevant. It was cool, and I liked having it in the game. So, you know, getting something new like that, it's always good. Like, I do like when they add stuff to the game that's not necessarily like top tier meta type stuff, but it's fun, you know. It just makes the game feel a little bit more fleshed out, you know. So it's pretty cool. But moving on here, we are getting a new Snorlax, and this thing here has 130 HP, colorless basic Pokemon, single prize. It's got the ability Massive Body. And as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent cannot play any stadium cards from their hand. You know, I don't think this is something, like, I don't feel super strongly about this. Mega Punch does deal 70, and we do have Berry. So I think you could combo Berry with this and 1 energy hit for 70. It's honestly not a bad card. These single prize Snorlax cards, when paired with Berry, the supporter card from the past, Berry allows you to attack for, I think, 2 less colorless energy. So theoretically, you could play this Snorlax, stop your opponent from playing stadiums, and hit for 70 damage on your first turn with Berry combo. So it's not that bad. It's actually kind of interesting. Snorlax was on the pack art, so, you know, it made sense we would be getting a new Snorlax. And here it is. And quite frankly, I don't mind it whatsoever. Shout out to the Snorlax. Could be relevant. You know, it definitely is something that I'm a little bit afraid of. The turn 1 Snorlax Berry, you know, hitting us in the face for 70. Very interesting stuff. So kind of cool. Next up is Greedent. So, you know, Greedent was in like the pre-trailer teaser that they gave us yesterday. This card is just not really relevant, but it's, you know, it's a Greedent. 130 stage 1 basic Pokemon single prize. 100 damage for 3 colorless, and now this Pokemon is asleep. So this is, to me, just kind of a throwaway card, but, you know, it's a Greedent card. If you like Greedent, you know, there you go. They did give us 3 full art Pokemon arts. The first one is Piplup, and then we have Pikachu and Sylveon, so we'll take a look at them. Now, we are getting a new Piplup, which means we could be getting Empoleon EX, or just a new Empoleon, right? So, I mean, it kind of means that we definitely are. We don't know what that Empoleon looks like, but we are getting this new Piplup. This thing here, 60 HP, does 20 damage, flip a coin of heads. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed for 2 energies. This card, it's not anything super substantial. If Empoleon is good, Piplup's not really helping the strategy much at all. It's not one of those basic Pokemon like a Swablu that actually does provide significant value to your deck list. So yeah, we're getting Piplup. And we're also getting a new Pikachu, which the art is really cool. Like I said, the set is really interesting with the artworks and the theme. But this Pikachu, 60 HP, Electro Ball, 40 for 2. So another card that's just not really relevant, but we could be getting potentially, you know, a new Raichu, right? And Raichu does work with things like Lieutenant Surge. Maybe we get like a new Raichu EX or something like that. Who knows? I have no idea. Maybe we're getting Mega Raichu. I have no idea. We're just going to have to wait and see, but here's the new Pikachu card. And then here's the new Sylveon card, which to me is relevant because Evolutions have a lot of support to them, and they already are seeing play in the current metagame and have seen play in previous metagames. So this is a new non-EX Sylveon, Psychic type, 100 HP, stage 1, again, so we can boost it evolution into it. It's got magical shot, so for 2 colorless, it does 60 damage, but it's got a really interesting ability, Soothing Ribbon. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has a tool card attached, you may heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon, any one of your Pokemon, which to me is kind of crazy. This seems like a lot. Like, I don't know what we're doing here, but you know, theoretically this stacks, right? So if you get double Sylveons on your bench, then all of a sudden, you know, you just throw some tool cards onto them and you can heal for 60 damage every turn. That's a lot of healing. That's a lot, you know, and we could just probably just, you know, play protected ponchos or giant capes or something in our deck. And then all of a sudden these Sylveons can sit there. They can be protected from bench damage. And they can heal your Pokemon for 30 or 60 damage every turn. You can pair this with Espeon EX, which also heals. You can play Indeedee, which heals. So this is a card to me that honestly has a lot of potential to be quite relevant. Like, this is a lot of healing. The effect is strong. The bench healing stuff is always a little bit interesting. Like, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's kind of useless. So it is taking up a bench spot. So you're probably only going to be playing this like in an evolution deck. But maybe you're supposed to play with Espeon, right? So maybe you're playing this Sylveon and you're playing Espeon EX, and then you can heal for, you know, I don't even know how much healing that is. It's an absurd amount of healing, quite frankly, every turn. So I think that's pretty cool. This card to me seems good at first glance. I don't know exactly which decks will utilize this, but every Sylveon we have in the game seemingly is quite strong. So shout out to the Sylveon. Soothing Ribbon, 30 damage from any one of your Pokemon. This could be a bench Pokemon, could be the active. I mean, yes, I know you need a tool card, but that doesn't seem like that big of a stipulation to me. It seems quite strong. So I do like this Sylveon. I like it a lot. All right, let's get into some of the other cards here. So this is the first EX card that they showed, and this is Dedenne EX. We have Pikachu EX. We have multiple of them, actually. We have Pachirisu EX. We're now getting Dedenne EX. Now, let's take a look at this card. It's a basic lightning type Pokemon, retreat cost of 1, and only 120 HP. So this thing is going to get KO'd almost immediately. You can Giant Cape starting planes this thing to go to 160. Some survivability there, but let's take a look at the attack. 2 lightning energies, Dedenne Circuit, 40 damage, and this attack does 40 damage for each tool card attached to all of your Pokemon. Okay. Sure. I mean, we actually do have, I think, a supporter in the game. I forget what it's called. That finds tool cards out of your deck. It's something Explorer, maybe like that. But we also have Arven, which can pull potentially a tool card from your deck. You could just play a bunch of tool cards. So it's interesting. I think this is a card that's honestly like meant to be played with Pachirisu. Like, you play like Dedenne and Pachirisu, and because they're both kind of tool card related. But yeah, Dedenne can deal 160 damage. 160 for 2? That's kind of crazy. That's generally like, I don't know if something like this is going to be relevant in the game. It's just kind of a far cry from like the type of decks that we see in the current metagame. So for that reason, I'm not going to sit here and say like this is going to be a meta relevant card. I'm just saying like it can hit for 160 for 2 energies. And I know you need 4 Pokemon and you need 4 tool cards, and that's probably going to be pretty difficult to do, especially considering Hydreigon's just going to evolve turn 2 and want to KO you. So I understand all of that. I completely do understand it, but I mean, this is not a terrible card. I don't know if it'll see meta play, but theoretically you definitely could build a Dedenne based deck and definitely win games. This is a card that can win games. It can be very aggressive. You know, think about how we play like Mega Manectric, right? Which is a stage 1 Pokemon, which for 2 energies does 80 damage, right? So it's like, it's not like, you got to understand, even if you don't get 4, even if you just get 3 Pokemon or 3 tool cards or even 2, right? It's 80, 120, and it's a basic Pokemon as well. So I think this thing has a lot of potential. There's certainly going to be strategies where this isn't very helpful, but against like really aggressive strategies, I actually quite like Dedenne. Again, another card that I think is totally respectable and very interesting when you kind of consider what this card is doing. It's very different than, you know, the other cards, lightning type EXs and stuff that we have in the game. But I do think it's kind of meant to be played with Pachirisu. That's kind of my feeling about it. But anyway, there's Dedenne. We are getting a new tool card as well, which we'll talk about in just a second, which is actually like really strong. It's a really good tool card, so we'll talk about it. But there's Dedenne. And then here, so they showcased Growlithe. So that's the 4th Puppy Pile Pokemon. This one has 80 HP, and it's a fire type. So now immediately, these Pokemon have the potential to deal 160 damage if you can pull all of these basics out of your deck. So, you know, 8 Puppy Pile Pokemon in a 20 times 8 is in fact 160 damage. So the damage output is there. The capability is there for the Puppy Pile Pokemon. I don't know if the archetype will be that relevant. And then they show Fido and Rockruff. So I believe that's it. Probably these 4 Puppy Pile Pokemon. Again, there's only 2 here. Fido's the only one under 50 HP. So Lissy is not going to be Maybe just like one Lissia in a puppy pile deck. You can pull double Fido out. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. You're going to queue up into random battles at the beginning of next season and lose the puppy pile, and you're going to rage about it. This to me definitely feels like an off-meta strategy, but it's cool nonetheless. So shout out to all of these puppy Pokemon. Maybe we get more. Who knows? All right. Anyway, let's talk about some of the new trainer cards that they had announced here. The first one is going to be Small Balloon, a very, very good tool card, a very important tool card. The retreat cost of basic Pokemon this card is attached to is 1 less. So this is effectively X speed in the form of a tool card, but it's only for basic Pokemon. So I do think this is worth playing. You got to understand, like, we do have Inflatable Boat, which is for basic Pokemon. We have like the more recent retreat card for stage 2 Pokemon. This is for basics, right? But a lot of basic Pokemon have low retreat costs, right? Especially the basic Pokemon that we are going to be using to evolve later in the game, right? So I actually do think Small Balloon is going to be somewhat relevant. I think this is a card that definitely could find its way into like a lot of decks, because in Pokemon Pocket, you know, lead-off consistency is very, very important, right? Not getting stuck with the wrong basic Pokemon in the active spot is a big deal. Now, something like Darkrai, like Bad Dreams Darkrai is a basic Pokemon with a retreat cost of 2. You know, Giratina EX and other Psychic-type basic Pokemon, we do have access to the stadiums for free retreat. And like I said, we do have Inflatable Boat, so it's not going to replace everything in the game. Like, it's not going to be like the by far just the best retreat cost option, but it is a card that will be nice to have for certain decks. And this is a card that will definitely, like, in a weird way, buff strategies and inconsistencies of certain decks that you maybe didn't really expect at first glance. So I do like Small Balloon, and it's cool that we're getting it to the game, a very general use tool card, which I think is really nice. And then here is the supporter card, Puppy Loving Girl. So Puppy Pile has its own supporter card, so they are clearly investing in this new strategy somewhat. Puppy Loving Girl. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put all Pokemon you find there that have the Puppy Pile attack into your hand, and then shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So here we go, right? You can play Puppy Pile Girl. You can play, you know, Pokeballs. You know, you could play, you know, one Lissia in your deck, and all of a sudden it's fairly likely in all like consideration that you're going to get a decent amount of these Pokemon out. Now, yes, the issue mainly with Puppy Pile is that all of those Pokemon get 1-hit KO'd, and they have 2 energy in their attack cost, so the energy is going to be kind of the struggling factor here. But if you go second, it's going to be kind of scary, because it's pretty likely that they're going to get a really decent amount of these puppy Pokemon and just hit you for a lot of damage on turn 2. But like I said, they're all basic Pokemon, low HP amounts. Sure, you could do starting planes and whatnot, but yeah, it's interesting. I think these are the only 2 trainer cards that they showcased, but there's certainly going to be some more, I would imagine. There's got to be maybe a new stadium or another new supporter. Who really knows? This is a tool card, so maybe we get a stadium and an item card. I don't know. But anyway, these are the trainers that they highlighted here in the trailer. So again, a part of this trailer was about Puppy Pile, which I know is half of a meme. It's not like a particularly super strong, you know, meta contending type of card, but they did highlight some other really strong cards at the end of the trailer. So that's kind of what we're going to get to here in a little bit. Next up, they did highlight a new Slowpoke and a new Quagsire. I can't actually read what these do here. Slowpoke, Growl. During your opponent's next turn, you do 20 less. Your opponent does 20 less damage. Okay, for 1 colorless. So maybe we're getting a new Slowbro or Slowking. Could be Mega Slowbro, which I think we already have. So I mean, I don't know. It is Psychic type though, so that's different. I think that's new. And then the new Quagsire, which is a stage 1 fighting type, 120 HP, and it has Amnesia for 3 energy, 2 fighting, 1 colorless. 60 damage. One of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks is chosen at random. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't use the chosen attack. So that's interesting. I mean, I don't think either of these cards are, you know, super important, but they are new cards and they are somewhat cool. So there you go. Shout out to Quagsire. And I love the art on the Slowpoke. Look at him. What is that? What on earth is that? Okay. Anyway. All right, let's talk about some relevant things that I think definitely have sort of meta contention, right? So the first one here is going to be the second EX that they highlighted, which is Hisuian Zoroark. 150 stage 1 HP, colorless basic, or not basic, stage 1 Pokemon. Colorless though, non-mega, so 2 prizes. Because we have Zoroark EX that recently got added. So now we have Hisuian Zoroark. The attack here for 3 colorless energy, retreat cost of 2, weak to fighting, which is funny because it's immune to fighting in real life. But anyway, 80 damage, and then this attack does 20 more damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile. So we have seen effects like this before. And we do, in fact, have ways to get Pokemon into the discard pile. So this is something that is somewhat relevant. 80 damage for 3 isn't great, but maybe you immediately get, maybe you just play like Chingling Lock, right? With like Klefki's or something, just some, I don't know. Maybe you play Gourgeist with this. Like there's certainly possibilities. This is a high energy attack cost. Like Zoroark only has single energy. So, a stage 1 Pokemon with 3 energy is really tough. There's not a great way to get 3 energies on this thing on your second turn when you do evolve it. So at first glance, it does seem a little bit suspect to me. It is basic, or it's colorless, so you can, of course, use any baby Pokemon or energy accelerating factors to get energy onto Hisuian Zoroark. But this to me feels like a late game option. You bring it in after you have a bunch of Pokemon in your discard pile and potentially you hit for like really big damage. So I do like it. I don't know. The 3 energy attack cost is kind of throwing me for a little bit of a loop. Just to me, because it feels like, if this is the Pokemon that you have available to you on turn 2, sometimes even turn 3, you're not going to be able to attack with it unless you also have some energy acceleration. So at first glance, it doesn't seem like that great to me on that front, but the attack to me is somewhat strong. Like it's pretty easy for this thing to just come in and start hitting for 160, 180 plus, right? You can get enough Pokemon in your discard pile. There's also a Goodra back here. This is Hisuian Goodra. It's got securely sheltered. Is there another image of this? There is, okay. All right, stage 2, Hisuian Goodra, Dragon type, 150 HP, no weakness, retreat cost of 3. It does heavy impact, 120 for a water, a metal, and a colorless energy. And at this, the ability here, rather, securely sheltered. If damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin of heads, you take 80 less damage from attack. So these effects I don't really think are ever that relevant. It's similar to Magnezone, but Magnezone is better in like almost every way. And Magnezone, of course, has Magneton and whatnot. We don't know what Hisuian Sliggoo looks like, or any of the previous evolutions, but as we know, Dragon-type Pokemon typically struggle pretty hard in Pokemon Pocket for various reasons. So I don't have like an incredible amount of faith for Hisuian Goodra. Again, Hisuian Zoroark is interesting. Now, this is a card to me that at first glance feels like there's definitely something going to be coming out in the set to be kind of paired with this that makes a lot of sense. So that's sort of my first impression here. Currently in the metagame, we do have some options to pair with Hisuian Zoroark, but they don't feel like that incredible. Like I imagine this card releases with a card that basically says, hey, discard this Pokemon and then generate an energy, right? That would be crazy. So not only, kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm just speculating here. This to me does feel like they're going to be releasing something else in the set to go along with it. Why else would they highlight this? And there's nothing else that they've highlighted that synergizes with this. So I just imagine that there's something they're releasing that's going to be paired with Hisuian Zoroark, but that's all speculation, of course. We're not really sure. This card could be very good. It also could be very mid. So we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what exactly happens with this card. But Goodra, kind of the same deal. I don't know, though. It feels it's a dragon, so I'm a little bit skeptical about it. But lastly here, let's talk about Mega Diancie, which is the only Mega Pokemon that they highlighted in the trailer. Doesn't mean there won't be more Megas coming in the set, but this is the one that they showcased to us. And Mega Diancie is a very interesting card. This, to me, they saved the best for last, in my opinion, so let's talk about it. Basic, Psychic, Mega, 170 HP. So, immediately comparable to something like a Absol EX, a Mega Absol. Same amount of HP, retreat cost of 1, and it is weak to Steel. Right? So that's good for Psychic-type Pokemon, is that they're not getting hit for weakness on things like, Zoroark or, Hydreigon, right? So immediately good. It's basically, it's a fairy type, right? So it's like Altaria. But it's got the attack here, Brilliant Storm, for 3 colorless energies, right? Just like Zoroark. Does 40 damage, and this attack does 20 more for each psychic energy attached to all of your Pokemon. All right, so at first glance, this card might not seem that strong, but then we need to consider that there are, in fact, a lot of ways to generate additional psychic energies available to us in the game. Not only do we have Mega Gardevoir, but we also have the non-Mega Gardevoir, which generates an additional psychic energy to your Pokemon every turn. We also have Giratina EX, and yes, to me, I feel like this is a card that's kind of meant to be released and paired with Giratina EX. And to me, that's a very, very scary proposition, like, to be entirely honest with you, because Giratina EX is already a meta-relevant Pokemon. It's already a strong card. So if you can play Giratina EX in a deck playing Psychic Energies, not only can you double up on Giratina, it can be an attack option on turn 3, but it's also a basic Pokemon, so you can run, and you also have Peculiar Plaza. So Giratina and Diancie can all have free retreat. You can play Giant Capes, you can play Starting Plains to give all of these Pokemon plus 40 HP, so Mega Diancie could easily go to 210 HP, which is relevant. But yeah, it's something that to me definitely feels like, you know, on turn 3, turn 4, once you're ready to attack with this thing, it could come in and very easily you could have 4, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, even like even more, even like 8 energies by your 3rd or 4th turn, which is a really big deal. It's a big deal because I think Mega Diancie is a card that has the potential to, of course, live basically any attack in the entire game, especially with something like a Giant Cape or a Starting Plains, but also 1-8 KO Pokemon. And it's one of these megas that I think is going to be really nice into other non-EX megas, which, you know, maybe have less HP, but it's going to be able to compete against other Mega Pokemon as well, because most Mega Pokemon aren't even able to KO this thing with 170 HP. So at first glance, again, it might not seem that strong. Again, maybe Gardevoir is the pairing for this, but at first glance, I kind of just feel like this is going to be like Giratina type of partner. Like, I think it's going to be sort of like a new Giratina Darkrai type deck. And not even Giratina Darkrai. If you guys remember Mewtwo and Giratina back in the day, this is basically that, except I think Mega Diancie will just be sort of a better option than Mewtwo in basically every conceivable sense, right? Let's just say you are playing like double Giratina. Like, you could just park a Pokemon in the active. It doesn't matter what it is. And then you just sort of bench a Giratina and you just attach to Diancie and you Broken Space Bella with Giratina. And then by the time it's turn 3, you have 6 energies on board. And all of a sudden, you know, what are you doing? 160 damage? Like, that's kind of crazy, right? So I think Mega Diancie is really strong. And again, you also have to keep in mind that it's ramping every single turn, right? So even though it's not a Pokemon or a strategy that's going to be necessarily super strong on turn 2 or turn 3, it is possible to do that, right? You can easily go turn 2 Mega Diancie, right? If you get a Gardevoir on turn 2, or, you know, you kind of Giratina Dawn combo, you can just straight up attack with the 3 energies on this thing. Because if you have 3 energies on Mega Diancie, it immediately is dealing 100 damage, right? So kind of similar to Manectric, where early on it might not feel that good, but if you can get an early KO and then you kind of carry it through every turn, it's growing in energy. Now, the only thing about this is if you pair it with Giratina and not Gardevoir, if you're attacking, you can't Broken Space Bellow, right? So if you're attacking on the turn, you're only going to go up by 20 damage, whereas if you're not attacking, you can go up by 40 damage every turn because it's double energy. So Gardevoir might be actually better than Mega Diancie, now that I think about it. I'm just thinking, because like you could just play double Gardevoir on this thing, and it just gets out of control. You know, you just kind of put Diancie in the active spot, and then just go turn 2 Gardevoir, set this thing up, and you're good to go. You're ready. I'm a little bit afraid. I think this card has a lot of potential. Maybe it won't be good at all. We don't really know. 170 HP, you are weak to steel, so something like a Mega Scizor could easily come in and just knock you out of the metagame for sure. That's definitely a possibility. But into a lot of things, I'm pretty curious about Mega Diancie. Maybe you play this with the new Sylveon and you can heal it for 60 damage every turn. It's a Psychic type Pokemon. It's a basic with colorless energy in the attack cost, even though you are going to be playing Psychic energies, of course, with this Pokemon. I think there's a lot of potential. I think that the metagame has a lot of tools perfectly positioned to make Mega Diancie a meta-relevant card. So this is something that could certainly warp the metagame around it. This thing could come in. I know the top players are going to be building decks, testing decks, figuring it out. And I think pretty early on, this card will definitely be very scary. I don't know exactly what the best way to play will be. We're going to have to test early on, but this is a good card. This is a very strong card. And again, it's the only mega that they've highlighted in this set. Doesn't mean there's going to be no other megas. So we don't know. They gave us, what, 2 EX Pokemon? Dedenne and Zoroark, and they gave us Mega Diancie. So we can expect at least 1 more EX card, maybe 1 more Mega, maybe 2 more EX cards. Typically, mini sets, I think, have like 4 or 5 EXs. I could be wrong about that. But we're going to certainly get a bunch more cards, probably some more trainer cards as well. This was just the teaser, and the set releases in 6 days, so we're going to be getting this pretty early. So again, to summarize, I think Zoroark has some potential. I think we're missing a key component to that card so far. Mega Diancie, maybe we are also missing a card that's going to be releasing in the set to pair with it. But even at your first glance, this card seems really, really strong. Lilligant and Goodra might be interesting. We'll see. The tool cards, or the tool card, it's fine. It's definitely good in some decks. So I think it'll be an improvement in some scenarios. And then the Puppy Pile stuff is fun to me. I like Puppy Pile. I don't think it'll be incredible, but it will be kind of fun to play. And Dedenne EX is also, I think people are kind of sleeping on this. I'm a little bit afraid of Dedenne EX. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit terrified of it. I think Sylveon has a lot of potential as well. And yeah, the Snorlax as well. It's not even bad cards. So I really like this set. I actually do at first glance. And again, it's only just a quick teaser. There's going to be way more cards coming out in the set than what they've showcased. We are getting a promo Zorua, Hisuian Zoroark, which for one colorless, you can basically swap it. So it's got like teleport. It's called run around, but it's teleport. So not terrible at all. Really not terrible. Cool. Okay. All right. And here's some more promo stuff that we're getting here. There's a promo Growlithe, the Puppy Pile themed accessories and whatnot. And then yeah, here. So Ruler of the Skies, which is the next main set, that's B4, is coming out at the end of July. So it's the set after this set. So if anyone was confused about that, that's what's going on there with the Ruler of the Skies, which to me, I think is definitely going to be a big deal for the metagame. But I think this set's going to be slept on. I really do. I think people at first glance are going to look at the theme of the set, the style of it, and they're going to be like, oh, it's not a meta set. Believe me, it's going to be strong. If you remember like Eevee Grove, when Eevee Grove came out, we all thought that also was like going to be kind of like a, you know, a collector type set, but it ended up having a ton of meta relevant cards. And I think this set could be very similar. So we're going to have to wait and see. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. What are your first opinions here? What are your speculations? What do you think is coming? I'm really excited. I'm always excited when new sets come out. And again, June 30th is when this set's coming out. So there we go, guys. That's the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. Also, don't forget to register for the PMPT tournament this weekend. Link to register down in the description below. All right, let's get out of here, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later. And yeah. Bye.